everybody. My name is Juan Pineiro, Assistant Professor and Extension Dairy Specialist for Texas A&M University, and I'll be your DairyVoice host today. Today, it is a personal pleasure to introduce Dr. Courtney Daigle. She's an Assistant Professor and Animal Welfare Specialist for Texas A&M University. So, Courtney, could you please give us a little bit of background from where you were raised and your education?
Sure. Yeah. So thanks, Juan, for the invitation. I never anticipated that I would ever be participating with DairyVoice, so I'm excited to be here. And part of the reason why I never thought I would ever be here is because I grew up in the city. And so I grew up in the suburbs in north of Oklahoma City, and the animals that I got to know were the ones that were at the zoo. And so that was what really sparked my interest in animal care. Was I worked at the zoo since starting when I was about 13 until about 18, doing all of kind of the grunt work. And then I was able to get hired on to work in the summers. I have a bachelor's in zoology from Oklahoma State University. And during that time, I spent 6 months over in Darwin, Australia. I have a master's from Michigan State University in Zoo and Aquarium Management. And so it's been an interesting journey to see how the approach to husbandry differs across industries. And it's been really awesome to see how much the dairy industry uses all the precision technology. It's been really, really cool to watch and to really get to, you really get to know the cow from the widgets that she wears.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's very exciting to have all this data and be able to do research, especially for us, right? That we like to do research. And so after you did your master's and PhD, you continue working in, if I recall correctly, in the academia, right? Can you tell us a little bit your work experience for A&M and here in A&M, the work that you are doing? Yeah.
Yeah. I postdoced at Purdue and then ended up at A&M. Looked around and I said, well, in Texas, cattle is king. And so I started to try and figure out how this whole beef industry worked and to understand where the dairy industry integrated with the beef industry as well. It's a really interesting scenario to watch, and I think it's really interesting to explore conceptually and scientifically, is that intersection between beef and dairy. But since I kind of got here, I found honestly, like a certain kind of safe space research-wise at the feed yards. So I've done some work looking at like some of my zoo skills, environmental enrichment, human-animal interaction, to see how that works with some of these agricultural animals, and to try and play in knowledge spaces that haven't been really massaged much before. So I've been doing that. We're exploring the use of dogs to detect sick cattle using olfaction. So we're in the really early stages of that. And then since I got to, just recently, we started working with a local dairy producer who is installing a fogging system within his robotic barn. And so we're taking a look at cow comfort and to see how effective that fogging system is for the cows, either with their behavior or their productivity.
Let me ask you to expand a little bit on the dogs. How do they ID cattle that may be getting sick through olfaction? What do they sense? Yeah.
I mean, cattle communicate a lot through pheromones.
Okay.
And it's stuff that we do not perceive. And so it's a matter of teaching the dog what a specific smell to look for.
Oh, that's great. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
With regards to the dairy farmer installing this fogger system, potentially to have some more heat abatement, how do you think that may impact dairy cows' behavior? Do you think it will change perhaps their standing or lying time, maybe perhaps reduce the panting, respiratory rate? What would you anticipate or hypothesize that you may see which changes in behavior?
Well, in Texas, it's hot. And so, we're really starting to take a strong look at heat stress. And this is a really good paradigm to start testing that, because we don't have to make it hot. Mother Nature does that for us. And it's becoming increasingly relevant for producers that are in northern environments that experience these odd heat waves every now and then, that kind of what we're dealing with here in Texas might be useful up there, because we've been there before. So, my anticipation is, we're trying to see if there are individuals that deal with being hot better than others. So kind of looking at coping strategies, looking at differences in lying behavior, rumination behavior, and productivity with this specific project. I would anticipate that once the foggers go in, if the cows like them, they'll lie down more and ruminate more. That's the anticipation. So fingers crossed they do what we hope, but they have their own prerogatives sometimes. So
yeah. Sometimes we plan some research projects and have great sound hypotheses, and
that's
not always.
It's kind of like this whole approach with using, like, when you have a chance to use robots and widgets, it's kind of like a big data analyst dream, because you've got all the different kind of things coming in, and then it's just matching them up and putting the pieces of the puzzle together so that you can really start to ask these questions that people are like, well, how do these things connect? And so fortunately, we're starting to be able to do that a little bit better, because we're understanding more about data management, and then we're better at collecting the kind of data in the first place.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thanks so much for having me. I had a fun conversation. So
you have a nice evening and a nice week. Thank you.
Thank you. You too.